Every day, hundreds of thousands of motorists take to New Jersey's highways. They enter and exit, merge and weave at speeds and in numbers unheard of a few decades ago. Even so, just about everyone gets where they're going, safely, quickly, and efficiently. That's by design, not luck. Since the early 1900s, highway engineers have crafted imaginative solutions to the Garden State's unique traffic challenges. As a result, New Jersey has been home to quite a number of highway transportation innovations. For nearly 75 years, one of New Jersey's most famous highway innovations could be found in Woodbridge, at the intersection of U.S. Route 1 and New Jersey Route 35. It was the very first Cloverleaf interchange built in the United States, an engineering marvel that came to be known as the Woodbridge Cloverleaf. In the next few minutes, you'll learn the Cloverleaf story and find out why it holds such a special place in highway transportation history. Up until about 1905, most people wanting to get from point A to point B in New Jersey, or anywhere else in the U.S. for that matter, had only a few options. They could walk, or take a train. They could bicycle, or they could harness horsepower, the four-legged variety. Most of the roads they walked, pedaled, or cantered on were made of dirt or gravel. Only 2% of the state's roads were paved. These unpaved surfaces were okay for leather shoes and horses' hooves, but they would quickly prove unsuitable for a new form of transportation. By the 1800s, the state of New Jersey was already grappling with the need for more and better roads.
The initial demands on the roadway system were caused by the farmers and bicyclists who really wanted to get out of the mud, and the farmers in particular wanted to get their produce to the cities in an expeditious manner. It was only later that the automobile came along and placed additional demands on the roadway system. And this happened early here in New Jersey because we had a very dense population and we are a corridor state between New York, Philadelphia, and the metropolitan region.
Up from nearly nothing only a few years earlier, by 1906, over 4,000 horseless carriages were bouncing along New Jersey roadways. 3 years later, mass production revolutionized the auto industry. More and more Model Ts rolled off the Ford assembly line and onto New Jersey's roads. The Tin Lizzie was here to stay, and with it came the need for improved driving surfaces. New Jersey's legislators responded to this need. In 1909, legislators created a state highway commission. Now, for the first time, New Jersey had an official body dedicated to bettering the state's road and traffic conditions.
The State Highway Commission was appointed early in the 20th century to deal with problems that already existed because of congestion on our roadways.
By 1917, New Jersey's roads were smoother and sturdier than ever before. The problem was there still weren't enough improved roads to handle all the traffic. Over 100,000 vehicles were now registered in the state, over 20 times the 1906 total. Clearly, more roads were needed to accommodate this growing legion of drivers. The state's geography, being located directly between the urban hubs of New York City and Philadelphia, plus increasingly dense population, a thriving manufacturing base, and popular shore attractions, virtually ensured high levels of traffic. Increasing traffic would continually challenge the ingenuity of traffic engineers. New Jersey's highway commissioners would rise to the challenge.
New Jersey's always been a crucial part of our national transportation system. During World War I, the Port of New York, New Jersey couldn't handle that additional stress. It was already almost maxed out. This created problems internally. It created problems with the war effort. And the state of New Jersey stepped up to the plate, and they knew that they had to do something to create alternate transportation systems to the railroad. They created the State Highway Department as a sign of their willingness to really put resources towards improving their roads to better serve our own needs and the needs of our nation.
In 1917, the State Highway Commission became the New Jersey State Highway Department.
By 1917, the demands on the highway system had become so great that a full-time highway department was needed.
The Highway Department was charged with developing a comprehensive system to prevent random development. The new department quickly developed plans for New Jersey's first unified highway system. 15 routes would make up the network.
The unified highway system was an early attempt to link all the major areas of the state together and was the basis of a planned highway system for New Jersey.
By the 1920s, New Jersey's traffic density was the highest in the world. Many state highways were carrying twice their planned capacities. The highway system grew to meet traffic demand. In 1923, the New Jersey legislature designated 4 new routes. In 1927, the legislature approved even more, bringing the total number of routes to 42. New Jersey's highway system allowed drivers to roam throughout the state, from east to west, north to south, and all points in between. Of course, more cars moving at greater speeds increased the risk of accidents, especially at intersections. At the time, most intersections were at grade. This meant each roadway or leg was at the same ground level. Movement through such an intersection could be a very stop-and-go affair. Traffic engineers used traffic controls, including traffic regulations describing how drivers needed to behave, along with signs, signals, and police to guide that behavior. Engineers also incorporated safety features into the roads themselves. These built-in controls included islands and divisional strips that forced traffic to move in a prescribed way. But even with these controls, the combinations of crossing and turning traffic meant there were many ways for drivers to get into trouble at a stop-and-go intersection.
One of the goals of the highway designer was to incorporate features that would allow traffic to move smoothly through an intersection. One of the earliest examples of that is grade separation.
Adding grade separation to an intersection allowed traffic to drive through it at full speed. This eliminated bottlenecks, but created challenges for drivers who wanted to change roads.
A grade separation is an excellent way of getting traffic through an intersection, as long as no one wants to get from one road to the other.
But another kind of at-grade intersection, the rotary, permitted a continuous flow of traffic and allowed traffic to change roads while eliminating left turns, the cause of most of the trouble. In a rotary, the roadways fed into a circular intersection around a central island. Traffic entered and exited the rotary by making right turns. The rotary permitted continuous movement and reduced the risks of high-speed, head-on, and right-angle collisions. Rotary intersections, also known as circles, got their start in the United States in 1905. For nearly 20 years, traffic circles had been applied to small suburban intersections only. That changed in 1925, when New Jersey pioneered the use of rotaries in U.S. highway intersections. The airport circle near Camden would be the first of many large circles built in the state and throughout the country.
Traffic circles worked great on New Jersey highways at that point in time with low volumes, but they also had their drawbacks.
The faster the traffic, the larger the rotary needed to be, and the more land it would take. Circles weren't practical options for urban areas with high land costs. And drivers were frequently perplexed since there were no consistent rules of the road for circles. But circles were an important stepping stone to another kind of intersection. It was called an interchange, and it combined a traffic circle with grade separation. Imagine a traffic circle at each corner of an intersection. Now, make one roadway into an overpass, and traffic can move easily through the intersection without having to slow down. The curved ramps at the corners of the interchange allow drivers to change roadways by making right turns without stopping. Direct left turns and the safety risks they posed were eliminated. The idea was first proposed by a French engineer in 1906. 10 years later, a Maryland engineer patented a similar design. This efficient new design resembled a four-leaf clover. Not surprisingly, it soon came to be known as a Cloverleaf interchange. The Cloverleaf interchange seemed a perfect choice for high-speed highway intersections. But so far, the idea existed here on paper only. Thanks to the foresight of the New Jersey Highway Department, that would soon change. Early in 1928, construction began on a critical link of the state highway system. New Jersey Route 25 would span 89 miles between Philadelphia and New York City. It would be a high-volume, high-speed freeway. New Jersey Route 4 ran from the Jersey Shore to Elizabeth. These two heavily traveled routes, now known as Route 35 and Routes 1 and 9, would cross in Woodbridge.
The projected traffic volumes at this intersection in Woodbridge were such that they knew this could not function properly with a standard at-grade intersection.
A large portion of the intersection design work fell to Edward Delano, a highway engineer with the contracting firm Rudolph and Delano. The Highway Department hired the engineer and his firm to build Section 6 of Route 25. Section 6 would stretch nearly 4 miles from Woodbridge Township to Edison Township and include the intersection with Route 4.
Delano brought two ideas to the State Highway Department. One was for a conventional traffic circular rotary, and one was a brand new idea, a Cloverleaf.
According to his daughter, Delano got the inspiration for the Cloverleaf from a magazine.
So I said, "Did you invent this?" And he said, "No." He said, "I copied it from a magazine cover."
That picture of a Cloverleaf intersection in Argentina was all Delano had to work with. But it was enough.
Delano submitted plans for both a traffic circle and a Cloverleaf to the Highway Department. The traffic circle was proven technology, it was cheaper, and I'm sure, much to his surprise and to their credit, they picked the Cloverleaf.
Construction began on the interchange in September of 1928.
As soon as it got light, they went right to work. The site was usually dusty, and it was reddish gray earth usually. And you would see groups of people working here. You might see a steam shovel which would go back and forth. Then they'd come through with something that dropped a lot of little stones. The concrete was laid in a couple of days. They had to be good hot days. Everybody was in before the sun went up, and they worked all day long. You could hear the mixer moving, you know, and then the men would come in afterwards, and they would have these long poles, and they were straightening it out, you know, evening it out. This is the way they built the roads. It was interesting, too, how the men lived, because they only work in the summer up these parts, building roads. The road crews who do the hard work travel in what they call gangs. And I remember my father always hired two gangs, Tony and Tony's son. And the father he had his men, and the son had his men. Seemed to me that that job went pretty fast.
A little more than a year later, in December of 1929, the completed Cloverleaf was heralded as an innovation in traffic control. But it was more than that. It was visually appealing as well as functional. Let's take a look at the design and the function of the Cloverleaf. The bridge over Route 4 was a concrete-encased I-beam structure. It was built on a foundation of concrete on earth. There were two spans, each 42 feet 6 inches long. The total length of the bridge and approaches was 286 feet. The substructure consisted of a concrete center pier and concrete abutments. The pier had 6 columns, spaced 15 feet apart. The faces of the abutments were 38 feet 6 inches from the pier faces. The bridge deck was made of reinforced concrete slab. The deck was covered by 2½ inches of asphalt block. The roadway over the bridge was 29 feet wide from curb to curb in each direction. The center medians varied in width, from 2 feet at the ends to 10 feet at the center. 6-foot wide sidewalks bordered each side of both roadways, and connecting sidewalks crossed the loops. Many of the functional forms were imbued with an aesthetic touch. On each side of the bridge was a concrete balustrade. Each balustrade rose to a height of 4 feet 3 inches from the top of the sidewalk. 5 3-foot-tall, 4-inch wide posts divided the balustrade into 4 large sections. There was a post at each end, one over each abutment, and one over the center pier. Except for the center post, each supported a 13-foot-tall concrete lamppost. A cast bronze lantern was attached to each lamppost. 6 identical lanterns provided illumination to the roadway under the bridge. The bridge approaches were constructed of earth fill. On top of the fill was a macadam foundation paved with bituminous concrete. Three of the left turn loop ramps were 20 feet wide. The west quadrant of the Cloverleaf contained a 30-foot wide ramp. The outer edge of each right turn ramp had a 10-foot shoulder. "12 feet separated the inside left turn ramp and outside right turn ramp in each quadrant. Engineers and laypersons called the interchange an engineering marvel. They hailed the Cloverleaf's ability to accommodate turning and through traffic without conflict.
It was an elegant solution to a problem, and it worked. It handled traffic efficiently, here, and it became a model for similar interchanges throughout the country.
The Cloverleaf would also impact the community surrounding it, Woodbridge Township.
We have apartments that are named after the Cloverleaf, and we even have a cemetery that's named after the Cloverleaf. I was born in 25, and in 25 when I was born, there was only 13,000 people in Woodbridge. The streets in Woodbridge just started getting paved around in 25. There was so little traffic that we would play in the streets and just get out of the way when one car went by.
The late 1920s was a time of optimism and prosperity. It spawned a golden age of construction, projects that celebrated the power and the beauty of America's new technological prowess. Towering skyscrapers, imposing new bridges and tunnels, elevated highways. America's love affair with the automobile was the impetus behind many of these monuments to machine-age design innovation. This fascination was also evidenced by the appearance of automobile racetracks, drive-in movie theaters, and even the Whoopee Track, an amusement park ride for the car, located only a stone's throw from the Woodbridge Cloverleaf.
The population of Woodbridge doubled somewhere around from the end of the war in 45. It probably doubled from the 45 up to 1970 or so. The population of Woodbridge went from 35,000 up to around 70,000 people. So with the doubling of population, naturally the car population also had to increase.
In the years to come, millions of drivers would share the experience of driving the Cloverleaf. It was an experience that would eventually deteriorate as ever-increasing volumes of traffic passed through the interchange. Let's take a look at what it was like to drive the Cloverleaf when it was new. The new interchange was a big improvement over the previous situation, and it worked well. Traffic volumes too large for the old at-grade intersection to handle flowed smoothly through the new Cloverleaf. But the new design surely challenged the driver expectations of the day. In 1928, turning right to go left was an alien concept. With the Cloverleaf's change from right-angle crossings to merge lanes, it must have been initially difficult for the drivers to know what they were supposed to do. Certainly, many would have initially found themselves in the left lane of the Cloverleaf, unable to make the left turn they'd planned. Some drivers probably stopped at first rather than accelerating and merging into traffic. It had to have been rather frightening.
There wasn't much traffic in those days. It was a pleasure driving.
The relatively light volume of traffic and ample following distances offered plenty of room for merging into traffic from the Cloverleaf ramps, despite the lack of now standard acceleration lanes. The innovative Cloverleaf interchange met the challenge of moving traffic along. From the beginning, there were times when the amount of traffic exceeded even the improved capacity of the new interchange. Traffic jams still occurred, as they had at the old at-grade intersection, but they were less frequent and cleared up more quickly. Shore traffic along Route 4 sometimes caused traffic jams for miles, including the Cloverleaf. This congestion had nothing to do with the function of the interchange. There was simply no more room on the road.
The only way to get down to the shore was on St. George Avenue, which is now Route 35. And there was no parkway, there was no turnpike. So they had to go through Woodbridge and Perth Amboy. So there was a bridge over the Raton River down between Perth Amboy and South Amboy. And if that bridge opened up, the traffic stopped dead from Perth Amboy through Woodbridge, all the way through Raway, maybe even to Elizabeth. The traffic was actually stopped dead.
As traffic density increased over the years, following distances became shorter, but drivers adjusted their comfort zones and merged into spaces they might previously have considered too small. The Cloverleaf continued to provide an acceptable level of service even as traffic levels and speeds continued to increase. By the 1960s, with two-car families now the norm, traffic on the Cloverleaf often peaked at several times its design capacity. Without benefit of acceleration lanes, it often became difficult, some would say impossible, to merge safely into increasingly common bumper-to-bumper traffic. Drivers had to wait longer to pull out, or try to pull out into an uncomfortably tight space while flooring the gas. Even so, once there's less than one car length between vehicles, there's simply no place for another vehicle to fit in. Merging into such a stream of traffic often means hoping a kindly driver will let you in. Some drivers try to force their way into traffic, often with disastrous results. The traffic and the passage of time took its toll on the structure as well.
Top of the bridge on the other side, in the right far lane, right about over there, approximately 50 feet where we're standing from, where I found that large hole. As a result of that large hole, and since it was a Sunday, it took a bridge repair team approximately 4 to 5 hours to get out to me. At that time, we had that one lane closed down completely, which meant there was an enormous logjam of traffic. It took them approximately a week to completely repair that one hole. And that's symptomatic of the problems that are going on underneath this bridge.
The bridge was repeatedly repaired and upgraded as much as possible. Guide rails were added, and lighting was upgraded. But the narrow roadway and lack of acceleration lanes continued to plague the flow of traffic through the Cloverleaf. As the 1928 construction continued to deteriorate, it was eventually deemed structurally deficient, requiring serious repairs or replacement. By 1995, the Department of Transportation declared the Cloverleaf functionally obsolete, sealing its fate. Fixing up the historic Cloverleaf structure was no longer an option. A new interchange would be required.
The Woodbridge Cloverleaf is a prime example of transportation innovation, and it served well beyond its expected design life.
As the very first Cloverleaf interchange in the United States, the Woodbridge Cloverleaf was a dramatic breakthrough in highway technology. It was a crucial step in the evolution of interchange design.
The bridge itself has served the community of Woodbridge Township. It's served the residents of the state of New Jersey very well. But like anything else, its time has come. It's time for it to be demolished and replaced by a new, improved design. And hopefully that design will serve the township of Woodbridge, its residents, and the motorists who drive through Woodbridge Township as well.
The Woodbridge Cloverleaf served New Jersey drivers for over 70 years. Its long and useful life is a tribute to the foresight and skill of those early highway builders and the inherent elegance of the Cloverleaf design.
It's coming down tonight.